I should have known something was wrong when Jordan's eyes lit up at that random forum post. He had that look, the same one he got before convincing us to sneak into the abandoned chemistry building last semester, the one that said, "I'm about to do something reckless, and you're all coming with me." Rain hammered the window, blurring the campus lights into smears of orange and blue. My dorm room smelled like stale coffee and wet socks, and the four of us, me, Jordan, Casey, and Devin, were supposed to be studying for midterms. Instead, we were scrolling, each of us pretending not to watch the others for signs of giving up first. Jordan's voice cut through the drone of rain and the soft clatter of Casey's keyboard. "Hey, check this out. Found it on Paranormal.net. Not for the faint of heart." He grinned, all teeth, and clicked the link before anyone could protest. The website took forever to load, as if it was being dragged up from the bottom of a lake. The screen flickered, then resolved into a world map, thousands of tiny red pins scattered across every continent. The tagline hovered in elegant gray font, "Every life deserves to be remembered." I felt a chill, sudden and sharp, as if someone had opened a window behind me. Jordan zoomed in. Each pin, when clicked, brought up a photo, some grainy, some unnervingly crisp, of a room, a bridge, a rooftop. Always empty, always wrong. Names, dates, and methods. The clinical neatness of it made my skin crawl. Casey recoiled, her face pinched. "That's sick. Why would anyone—" She didn't finish. Devin, who never said much, looked like he might throw up. Jordan, though, was fascinated, his eyes darting from pin to pin, cataloging the macabre. I tried to act casual, but my hands were slick with sweat. I didn't want to seem weak. I made myself look closer. The site let you filter by date, by method, by location. There was an Add Memorial button, as if this was some kind of digital cemetery for the forgotten. A legitimate way to honor the lost, or so it claimed. But then I noticed something that made my scalp prickle. Some locations had multiple pins stacked on top of each other, so close they were almost fused. I clicked one. The photo was too sharp, the angle too intimate, as if the photographer had been standing right there, watching. I shivered. At the bottom of the page, in text so faint it was almost invisible, memorial guidelines. 1. Pins are permanent remembrances and cannot be removed. 2. New memorials may replace outdated entries. Third, location accuracy ensures proper honor. Jordan's laugh was brittle. "Let's memorialize Marcus, as a joke. Marcus Hartley, our RA, campus tyrant, enforcer of every arbitrary rule. The guy who'd written me up for having a kettle. The guy who'd searched Devin's drawers for contraband and left everything in a mess. I should have said no. I should have told Jordan to shut up, that it wasn't funny. But I just watched as he typed in Marcus's name, his apartment address, tomorrow's date. "Pre-memorial," he said, smirking. Casey made a sound of protest, but Jordan clicked submit before anyone could stop him. The new pin appeared on the map, but it wasn't red. It was yellow, and it pulsed, just barely, like a heartbeat. I stared at it, my mouth suddenly dry. "Okay, that's enough," Casey said, standing up. "Can we not do this? It's not funny." Devin nodded, silent and pale. Jordan shrugged, but even he looked unsettled. We closed the site. I screenshotted the URL before shutting my laptop, telling myself it was just in case. Just in case of what? I didn't know. That night, I dreamed of pins blooming across the map, each one a tiny, pulsing eye. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a campus emergency alert. Student wellness check, Marcus Hartley. Please contact campus security if you have information regarding his whereabouts. I sat up, heart pounding. My hands shook as I opened my laptop and navigated back to the site. The yellow pin was now red. I clicked it. The photo showed Marcus's apartment, Chair overturned, window open, rain blowing in. No body, just emptiness. I checked the student directory. No Marcus Hartley, no RA listed for our floor. I scrolled through my inbox. The emergency alert was gone. It was as if he'd never existed at all. But I remembered. I remembered everything, and I was the only one who did. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the map. Pins multiplying, pulsing, blooming like infected sores across the world. I kept refreshing the final atlas page, half hoping the red pin would vanish, half dreading that it wouldn't. But it stayed, throbbing gently at the spot where Marcus's apartment should be, as if marking a wound that wouldn't close. By sunrise, the rain had stopped, but the world felt washed out, every color leached to gray. I dressed on autopilot and stumbled to the hall, expecting to see Marcus's door open, his voice barking at someone about quiet hours or fire hazards. Instead, the door was closed, the nameplate gone, the wall bare and freshly painted over. My stomach twisted. I pulled out my phone, fingers trembling, and scrolled through my old texts, the ones where Marcus had threatened to write me up for excessive noise after midnight, the ones where he'd berated Devon for burning popcorn. All gone. The chat history was empty, as if we'd never spoken. I checked my photos, desperate for proof. There was a group shot from last month, the four of us crammed into my dorm room, grinning awkwardly. But where Marcus should have been, there was only a blank patch of wall, the edges of the group subtly warped, as if the pixels themselves recoiled from remembering him. Panic clawed up my throat. I needed someone to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. I found Jordan in the dining hall, hunched over a bowl of cereal, headphones in. I slid into the seat across from him and tried to keep my voice steady. "Do you remember Marcus?" He looked up, blinking. "Who?" "Our RA, Marcus Hartley. The guy who—" My voice faltered. Jordan's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something, guilt, confusion, passing over his face before he shrugged. "I don't know, man. We never had an RA named Marcus. You feeling okay?" I turned to Casey, who sat nearby, scrolling through her phone. "Casey, you remember Marcus, right? The guy who—" She frowned, lips pursed. I remember someone. Tall guy? Maybe. But I can't picture his face. Are you sure you're not mixing him up with someone else?" Devon just shook his head, eyes darting away. "Alex, you've been stressed. Maybe you dreamed it. Finals are getting to all of us." I wanted to scream. Instead, I forced myself to breathe. "Number, I have proof." I pulled up the final Atlas site on my phone, showing them the red pin, the photo of Marcus's empty apartment. "Look, this is real. He was here. He existed." Jordan's face went pale. He stared at the screen for a long moment, then pushed my phone away. "It's just some creepy website, dude. Anyone can fake a photo. You need to chill." But his hands were shaking. I skipped class and went to the library, desperate for evidence. I searched Marcus's name in the university directory. Nothing. I checked the housing records. No sign of him. I scoured social media for any mention, any photo, any post. Every trace was gone, as if he'd been scrubbed from reality with surgical precision. I tried to call campus security, but the dispatcher just sounded confused. "There's no one by that name in our system, sir. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" I wandered the halls in a daze, clutching my phone like a talisman. The world felt thinner, stretched tight over something hungry and unseen. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the site's rules. Pins are permanent remembrances and cannot be removed. New memorials may replace outdated entries. Location accuracy ensures proper honor. I needed to see for myself. I texted my friend Maya, who worked the late shift at the security desk, and begged her for a favor. 30 minutes later, I was in the cramped control room, watching grainy footage from the dorm's hallway cameras. At first, everything looked normal. Students walking, laughing, unlocking doors. Then, at 2:13 a.m., I saw it. Devin standing outside Marcus's door, talking animatedly to nothing. The air. He gestured, laughed, then handed something invisible through the open doorway. The timestamp flickered, the image glitching for a split second. When it cleared, Devin was alone, staring at his empty hands. I rewound, heart pounding. In another clip, Jordan and Casey stood in the hall, arguing with empty space. Their faces twisted in frustration, as if they were being ignored by a ghost. And then, for a single frame, the camera glitched again. A tall, distorted figure, its outline crawling with static, flickered into view beside them. Not a person, not even a shadow. Just a smear of corrupted pixels, vaguely human, flickering in and out of existence. I jerked back from the screen, bile rising in my throat. Later, in my room, I caught a glimpse of movement in my laptop's black screen. I froze. There, behind me, a figure, impossibly tall, its body rippling with digital static, its face a shifting blur of noise. I spun around, but the room was empty. My heart hammered so loudly I thought it might burst. The next morning, I printed screenshots of the final Atlas page, the glitched security footage, everything I could find. I cornered Jordan, Casey, and Devin in the lounge, shoving the papers at them. "Look, this is real. You have to remember." Jordan's jaw clenched. "Stop it, Alex. You're scaring everyone." But Casey reached for a screenshot, her fingers trembling. I remember something. A voice. Someone yelling at us about noise. But I can't." She broke off, eyes unfocused, as if someone had yanked the memory away mid-sentence. Devin just shook his head, eyes glassy. "You need help, Alex. Seriously." Jordan stared at the printouts, his face twisted in something like fear. I remember pinning someone, but I don't remember who, or why. It's all..." He trailed off, lost. The world was unraveling, pixel by pixel, memory by memory. And I was the only one left holding the thread. Jordan started unraveling before I did. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe the Void Walker had marked him as next. Either way, he stopped sleeping, stopped joking, stopped being the gravitational center of our group. I'd find him hunched over his laptop at 3 in the morning, the blue light carving shadows into his face, his eyes wild and rimmed with red. He'd scroll through deep web forums, message boards with names like Existence Pruning and Memorial Keepers Anonymous, searching for answers he never found. He stopped talking to Casey and Devin. He barely talked to me, except to mutter fragments of rules and warnings he'd found, half in English, half in code. They always come back. The sites, I mean. Different names, different skins, but always the same rules, always the same price. His hands shook as he spoke, and I realized I was afraid of him now, not just for him. The Void Walker's appearances escalated, no longer just a flicker in glass or a distortion in a photo. Now it lingered in the corners of our vision, a silhouette composed of crawling static, its limbs too long, its head cocked as if listening. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear a wet digital crackle from the hallway, like a corrupted audio file looping on itself. I'd lie in bed, heart pounding, convinced that if I moved, it would notice me. One night, Jordan burst into my room, eyes wild. "We have to test it. We have to know if it's real, if it's just us." He was clutching his phone so tightly his knuckles were white. "If it works on someone else, then we're not crazy, right?" I recoiled. "What are you talking about?" He was already opening the site. "It's just a test, just a random person. No one we know, no one who matters." His voice cracked on the last word. and I hated him for it. He picked Kelly Martinez, a sophomore from another dorm, someone who'd cut in front of him in the dining hall once. He barely knew her. That was the point. He typed her name, her dorm, tomorrow's date. The yellow pin appeared, pulsing. I wanted to stop him. I didn't. The next day, Kelly was still there, but her Instagram posts started vanishing one by one. First her vacation photos, then group shots, then selfies. Her profile picture glitched, her face dissolving into a smear of pixels. Her friends stopped tagging her in posts. By evening, people in the dining hall hesitated when they saw her, as if her name was a word they'd forgotten. Jordan and I watched in horror as the process accelerated. Kelly posted frantic messages. "Why is everyone acting weird? Why are my photos gone? Does anyone remember my birthday?" But her words were quickly deleted, replaced by strings of corrupted text. Her roommate told people she was studying abroad, but couldn't remember where. The Void Walker followed her. We saw it on the security feeds, a shadow trailing Kelly down the hall, growing more solid with each passing hour. Its movements became more deliberate, almost curious. When Kelly passed by, the lights flickered, screens glitched, and the air felt thick, as if reality itself was struggling to hold together. On the second night, Kelly's final post appeared, just a block of static, unreadable. Then her account vanished. By the next morning, no one remembered her but us. Her room was empty, her belongings boxed up as if she'd never existed. When I tried to ask her friends about her, they looked through me, confused, as if I was speaking a language they'd never heard. Jordan stopped eating. He started muttering to himself, scribbling notes on napkins, on his arms, on the walls. "It's feeding. It's getting stronger. We're next." He wouldn't look me in the eye. I tried to reach out to Casey and Devin, but they were distant, distracted, their memories already eroding. Sometimes they'd pause mid-sentence, frown, and shake their heads, as if swatting away a persistent fly. I realized we were alone, Jordan and I, the only ones left who could see the cracks spreading through our world. I started seeing the Void Walker everywhere, in the reflection of my phone, in the shimmer of a computer monitor, in the static between radio stations. It watched me, patient and hungry, waiting for the next pin to drop. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I started to wonder if I'd ever existed at all. But I remembered Kelly, I remembered Marcus, and I remembered who put them on the map. The site's rules echoed in my head, a litany I couldn't escape. Pins are permanent remembrances and cannot be removed. New memorials may replace outdated entries. Location accuracy ensures proper honor. The rules were lies, the rules were traps, and I was running out of time. I don't remember the exact moment my memories started to blur. Maybe it was the fourth night without real sleep, or maybe it was the way the Void Walker's shadow seemed to stretch longer every time I blinked. All I know is that the details of Marcus and Kelly, what they looked like, the sound of their voices, began to slip away, like water draining from cupped hands. I'd try to picture Kelly's face and get only a vague oval, a suggestion of hair. I'd try to recall Marcus's laugh and hear only static. But the guilt? That stayed, sharp and fresh as a paper cut. Jordan was worse. He'd stopped showering, stopped changing clothes, stopped pretending he was in control. His room was a nest of empty cans, crumpled notes, and the constant, sickly blue glow of his laptop. He muttered to himself, sometimes in code, sometimes in panicked prayers. The Void Walker haunted him too, but it seemed to feed on his fear, growing bolder and more defined. Once I saw it in the reflection of his glasses, a face made of crawling pixels, a mouth stretched wide in a silent scream. We tried to keep each other sane, but it was like two drowning people clinging to each other in a storm. The world outside noticed. People started avoiding us in the halls. eyes sliding away as if we were a glitch in their vision. Casey and Devon drifted off, their memories of us and the others growing patchy, like corrupted files. Sometimes they'd stop mid-sentence, frown, and look at us with blank confusion. "Sorry, what were we talking about?" Devon asked one afternoon, and I realized he didn't remember ever being friends. The Voidwalker was no longer content to lurk in screens and mirrors. Now it flickered in the corners of rooms, made lights stutter, crashed computers when we entered labs. My phone died if I touched it. The air around us felt charged, heavy with the threat of erasure. Sometimes when I looked at my reflection, I'd see a second face behind mine, smiling, pixelated, patient. We were running out of time. Desperation drove us to forums, to the digital graveyards of the internet where other survivors whispered about memorial sites and existence pruning. Most posts ended abruptly, the usernames deleted, the threads locked, but one message survived, buried deep in a thread titled, "How to Survive the Atlas." It was from someone called Nullpointer. Pins are not fixed, they can be transferred, but there is always a price. The map must be fed. Jordan latched onto the idea like a lifeline. "We just have to move the pin, transfer it. It doesn't have to be us." His voice was cracked, desperate. "We pick someone else, anyone else." I recoiled. "You want to do this again? After what happened to Marcus? To Kelly?" He glared at me, eyes wild. "You want to die? You want to be erased?" He gestured at the Voidwalker, now hovering in the doorway like a digital wound in the air. "It's us or them, Alex. That's how this works." We argued for hours, voices hoarse, hands shaking. I tried to find another way, an exploit, a loophole, anything that didn't involve damning another person. But every thread, every post, every survivor's account said the same thing. The only way to survive was to pass the curse on. Jordan started making lists. People who'd wronged him, professors who'd failed him, students who'd mocked him. He read the names out loud, daring me to object. I refused, again and again, but the pressure mounted with every flicker of the lights, every crash of a computer, every time the Voidwalker's shadow stretched across my bed at night. Then, one night, I woke to the sound of my laptop fan spinning up, the screen casting a cold blue glow across the room. I stumbled out of bed, heart pounding. The final Atlas site was open, a new pin pulsing yellow at my apartment's location. My name, my address, tomorrow's date. I stared, numb, as the yellow pin began to pulse faster, the color deepening toward red. My phone buzzed and died in my hand. My social media apps glitched, profile pictures vanishing, messages deleting themselves in real time. I stumbled down the hall and pounded on Jordan's door. He opened it, face pale, eyes rimmed with tears. He didn't even try to deny it. "I couldn't take it anymore," he whispered, voice breaking. "That thing, it was in my dreams, in my reflections. I'm sorry, but I had to choose between us." I wanted to scream, to hit him, to beg for mercy. But the Voidwalker was already behind me, its hand reaching for my shoulder, its smile pixelated and endless. I was next. It started with the little things, the kind you could almost convince yourself were just forgetfulness or bad luck. My phone wouldn't recognize my fingerprint. My emails bounced back as user not found. A group chat I'd been in for 2 years was suddenly missing my messages, just blank spaces where my name had been, like I'd never spoken at all. I tried to call my mom, but the number rang, and when she finally picked up, her voice was distant, uncertain. "Who is this?" she asked, and my throat closed up so tight I could barely breathe. I ran to the mirror, half expecting to see the Voidwalker standing behind me. Instead, I saw myself, except not quite. My reflection glitched, flickering at the edges, my eyes swimming with static. I pressed my palm to the glass. For a heartbeat, the image warped, and the Void Walker's face replaced mine. Pixelated, mouth stretched into a jagged, delighted smile. I stumbled back, knocking over a lamp. The bulb popped, plunging the room into a gray, buzzing twilight. I tried to reach out to Casey and Devon, but their numbers were gone from my contacts. I scrolled through old photos, birthday parties, late-night study sessions, blurry group selfies, and watched as my face melted out of each one, replaced by a smear of digital noise. My name faded from captions. "Who took this?" someone commented under a photo from last year. No one answered. The world was erasing me, bite by bite. The Void Walker didn't bother hiding anymore. It followed me everywhere, its presence thickening the air, making the lights flicker and the temperature drop. Sometimes it would pass through walls, leaving behind a trail of frozen condensation and the faint, coppery tang of ozone. Sometimes it would just stand in the corner, watching, its head cocked in curiosity. I tried to ignore it, but it grew bolder, flickering into my peripheral vision, reaching for me with hands that left static burns on my skin. I begged Jordan for help. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "I'm sorry, Alex. I had to. You don't understand what it's like being hunted. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. It was you or me." He sounded hollow, like he was already half erased himself. I screamed at him, threatened him, pleaded with him to transfer the pin back. He just shook his head. "The sight doesn't let you undo, only move forward, only replace." He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, shrunken by guilt and terror. I spent hours in the library, combing through the dregs of the internet, searching for any mention of Final Atlas or memorial sites. The stories were always the same: a website, a map, a set of rules. Someone would disappear, and the world would close over the gap as if they'd never been there. The only way to survive was to pass the curse on, sacrifice someone else, feed the map. I found an archived thread from 2012, a post by someone called Dead Memories. "Don't trust the rules. They're not for you. They're for it. The site needs to erase someone to exist. If you're marked, you can't escape. You can only choose the next name." I tried to fight it. I wrote my name on sticky notes, carved it into a desk, recorded myself saying it over and over. "I am Alex Morrison. I am real. I am here." But the notes faded. The carving filled itself in. The recordings corrupted into static. Even my own memories began to blur at the edges. I'd try to remember my childhood, my first day at college, and find only gaps, like corrupted files on a hard drive. My professor stopped calling my name in class. My roommate asked me to leave, claiming the housing office had no record of me. I wandered campus, invisible, the world thinning around me. The Void Walker was always there, sometimes walking beside me, sometimes flickering ahead, always smiling. I realized I had only hours left. My hands shook as I logged into Final Atlas one last time. The interface was different now, glitchier, colors bleeding into one another, the map pulsing with hungry light. My pin was red, throbbing at my dorm's location. The guidelines flickered at the bottom of the screen, unreadable except for one line. The map must be fed. I stared at the Add Memorial button, my finger hovering over it. I could transfer the pin. I could choose someone else. But who? Jordan, an innocent stranger. My mind raced, caught between terror and guilt. The Void Walker leaned in, its mouth inches from my ear, its voice a chorus of static and lost memories. Choose. My existence was slipping away, and the only way out was through someone else's oblivion. The world was almost done with me. My name was a ghost in every system, unreadable, unsearchable, a blank field where I used to be. My mother's voice, when I called again, was kind but empty. "Sorry, I think you have the wrong number." The last time I heard my own name aloud, it was from the mouth of the Void Walker, its voice a static chorus echoing from every screen in my room. "Choose," it whispered, and the lights flickered, and my laptop's fan screamed like a warning siren. I had hours left. I could feel it. My hands left no prints on glass. My shadow faded on the wall. The site pulsed in my browser, the add memorial button throbbing with malignant promise. The rules, those 3 simple, monstrous rules, scrolled endlessly at the bottom of the page, as if daring me to break them or to obey. I thought about Jordan. I thought about Casey and Devin, whose faces were already blurring in my mind, their voices dissolving into background noise. I thought about Kelly, whose name I remembered only because I'd written it on my arm in black ink, the letters now smudged and half erased. I couldn't do it to an innocent. I couldn't become the thing Jordan had become, but I also couldn't just let myself vanish, could I? Was that really nobler, or just cowardice dressed up as virtue? The Voidwalker pressed closer, its form more solid than ever, its eyes, if they were eyes, glittering with anticipation. I scoured the campus forums, desperate for a loophole, a justification, anything. That's when I found the thread about Dr. Richard Volkman, tenured, untouchable, a professor who'd ruined lives for fun. The posts were angry, desperate, anonymous. He stole my thesis. He threatened to fail me if I didn't drop the complaint. He made me wish I'd never come here. There were rumors, too dark to believe, but enough to make my hands shake with something like resolve. If the map needed a sacrifice, maybe it could be someone who deserved to be forgotten. I found Volkman's office address in the faculty directory. I hesitated, the cursor blinking in the add memorial fields. My own name was flickering in and out of existence on the site, my pin pulsing red, the digital world tightening around my throat. I typed, name, Dr. Richard Volkman. Location, room 314, West Hall. Date, tomorrow. My finger hovered over the submit button. The Void Walker leaned in, its breath cold and electric on my neck. Choose, it hissed, and I pressed down. The change was immediate. My pin faded from red to gray, then winked out entirely. I gasped, the world snapping back into focus. My phone buzzed to life, notifications flooding in. My emails reappeared, my name restored in group chats, though some messages were still missing. Threads broken where I'd once existed. My reflection returned, pale and shaken, but undeniably mine. But I felt no relief, only a sick, hollow ache. I'd done it. I'd chosen. I'd condemned someone else to oblivion. I watched, helpless, as the process began. Volkman's university page glitched, his photo replaced by a gray silhouette. His name vanished from course listings. Students whispered about a weird feeling in West Hall, about doors that wouldn't open, about a chill that lingered in the air. I saw him once, wandering the quad, his outline flickering, his face a blur. He looked lost, terrified, already half erased. I tried to warn him. I tried to undo it. The site wouldn't let me. Pins are permanent remembrances and cannot be removed, the rules mocked, looping endlessly at the bottom of the screen. By nightfall, no one remembered Dr. Volkman. His office was empty, his files deleted, his legacy a smear of corrupted data. Only I remembered, and the memory felt like poison. I stared at the final Atlas map, at the thousands of pins pulsing quietly across the world. I wondered how many others had made the same choice, convinced themselves it was for the greater good, or simply to survive. The Void Walker lingered in the corner of my eye, its smile wider than ever. I was safe, for now. But I was no longer innocent. I was part of the map. I survived, but I was not saved. The morning after Volkman's erasure, campus felt wrong in ways only I could sense. A faint hum behind every wall, a low-level static in every fluorescent light, the chill of a presence always just out of sight. My name was back in the university system. My face returned to photos, though sometimes, if I looked too long, the pixels around my smile seemed to squirm. Some people remembered me, but not quite right. Devin called me Alan twice before correcting himself. Casey's eyes slid past me in the dining hall, her brow furrowed as if she was trying to recall a half-forgotten dream. Jordan avoided me, and I avoided him. Our friendship was a casualty neither of us could mourn aloud. I caught him once in the library, hunched over a laptop. He looked up, face hollow, and I saw the final Atlas map reflected in his glasses. He closed the browser before I could speak. We both pretended not to notice. I became obsessed with the site. Every night I logged in, watching the pins bloom and fade across the world. Sometimes I recognized a username, a location, evidence that the curse was spreading, that others were making the same impossible choices. Sometimes a yellow pin would appear, pulsing on a place I knew, and I'd feel a cold sweat break out across my skin. I never saw my own name again, but I checked compulsively, as if vigilance alone could keep me safe. The Voidwalker still haunted me, though less often now. It flickered in my periphery, lingered in the flicker of a dying bulb, pressed its static face against the glass of my laptop screen. I wondered if it was disappointed in me, or if it was simply waiting for the next cycle to begin. Sometimes, in moments of anger or fear, I felt the temptation to use the site again, to pin someone who hurt me, to erase a threat, to buy myself more time. I never did. But the urge was there, a splinter I couldn't dig out. I tried to warn people. I posted on forums, wrote anonymous emails, left cryptic flyers in the library bathrooms. Beware the map, beware the rules. It feeds on memory. No one listened. The few who responded dismissed me as a troll or a conspiracy theorist. Some messages vanished before I could even read the replies. The site was always one step ahead, pruning away evidence, erasing warnings, feeding on the silence. The world moved on. Finals came and went. New students arrived, old ones graduated, and the campus forgot its missing pieces. But I remembered. I remembered everything. One night, as I sat in my darkened room, the final Atlas site refreshed itself without warning. A new yellow pin pulsed on my current address. My heart stuttered. I clicked the notification. New memorial added by user, finally free _22, Jordan's username. My hand shook as I tried to transfer the pin, but the add memorial button was grayed out. A message appeared across the top of the screen. Memorial limit reached. Thank you for your service. The Voidwalker appeared in my reflection, standing behind me, its smile wider than ever, its eyes bright with anticipation. This time I didn't scream. I just stared, waiting for the static to swallow me. I am the guardian of the Atlas. I am the memory that cannot be erased, the warning that no one will heed. The cycle continues. The map must be fed, and somewhere, someone else is already searching for the next name.